Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video, the long-awaited and promised Frost Mage Season 3 PvP guide for the War Within. What build, what itemization, and what strategies did I utilize in order to get into the top 10 of Frost Mages so early on in this season? You are going to know all of that information, all of those secrets by the end of this video. And as always, if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with news related to World of Warcraft, educational and entertaining content, then make sure to smash that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated. Now, do note, since I've completed this challenge, I've gone fire, and I'm going to be running the same type of gauntlet on it. So some of my gear has altered since when I played as Frost, and I will note that out to you as we're going through this. I have obviously heavily prioritized haste, probably excessively so. The main reason for this is I really like the reduced global cooldown. I really like how fast my Frostfire bolts are during Icy Veins, how fast my polymorphs are. It felt like I was able to get a lot of crowd control I otherwise wouldn't be able to. But this amount of haste may be a little bit overkill, but this is the amount of haste that I did ultimately actually achieve this rating with. This might be a number that I would tweak if I were to keep going with it and I noticed any types of problems, but I really don't think you can go wrong focusing on haste, and then obviously versatility, and then mastery, and then crit finally as your last stat. Now, for a lot of mages, they want to know whether or not to play Glacial Spike. I didn't play Glacial Spike a single time, and this is where I want to note the differences between, I've got this 4 set to play Sun Fury Fire now. I did not use this 4 set when I played Frost to get 2400. I played 2 set, and I did not play Glacial Spike for a single game, a single round, not at all whatsoever. And I found it to be much better, mostly because there are a lot of resto shamans, just shamans in general, a lot of hunters, and it just felt like the more time you tried to spend casting it, you would just explode. So I just wanted to focus on instant cast damage, playing a similar build to that of Season 1 and Season 2 that I've been playing up to this point. So I did not play 4 set when I played Frost, although you can see that on the screen right now. So I think I had the chest piece, and I had the gloves, I believe, because they were heavy on haste, and then I didn't have the legs or the shoulders at tier set at that time. Obviously, we're still going to be playing Focusing Lens, which is going to give us the damage proc from our sockets, and you want to make sure you have a gem like right here. I did slot in Mastery Versatility gems because of so much haste on my gear, so I was going to go full Mastery Versatility gems in that regard, but the Focusing Lens is still really good. It's still like 3 to 5% of your overall damage, which is, you're just never going to go wrong with that. You're obviously going to want that on 2 pieces of gear. Went for versatility and chance because I got tired of just getting one shot by hunter, so I wanted a little bit of extra versatility. But pretty much everything is just haste versa all the way through. I even have a haste onto my crafted cloak, my artifact cloak, whatever you want to call it now, which is a good idea. I really liked haste. I like going fast. I think the instants, the fast cast polymorphs, trying to be as mobile as possible, really benefited me in being able to get a lot of ratings, so I would recommend that to you as well. Now, as far as talents are concerned, this is the talent build that I played, I think, every single game. I don't think I altered a single thing, although I probably should have, dropped out a decurse when you don't need it, and then you can go for just a little bit of extra healing or cooldown reduction, basically, instead of this decurse. But you should definitely be flexing this point around when you don't need it, but I was just super lazy and literally just kept it in the entire time. Ultimately, it didn't matter. It was still good enough to get into the top 10 for Frost Mage. I really like Snowdrift, and I like Ice Wall. This is like the Tessia build from AWC last season for the War Within. This combination of just being able to AoE stun and zone control, I think really enables a win condition. And the main focus of this build is just getting as many Comet Storms off as possible, and reducing the cooldown of your Icy Veins with shifting power as frequently as possible. Ideally, your Comet Storm, your Ice Barrier, and your Icy Veins. Those are like big cooldowns to hit to reset to maximize your damage. If you're getting attacked, you would also like to reduce the cooldown of some of your shimmers, as those are going to enable you to actually be able to avoid damage and get to safety. Obviously, Overpowered Barrier is just like an auto lock with how bursty the game is, and you get a ton of value if you time this correctly on reflecting damage. This is like one of your highest damage output abilities right now, so definitely make sure that you have the Overpowered Barrier PvP talent. On top of the kind of the Flurry Ice Lance rotation that I'll go over in a gameplay review here in just a moment. But this is the talent loadout. I'll do my best to have it copied in the description down below, but sometimes the talent loadouts expire, so I would just recommend taking a screenshot basically of this, and I'll just hide my camera here for a second, so in case there's anything on the bottom, but I don't think there is. Just screenshot it, and then you've got a copy of it, and you can run away with it as you will. Obviously, there's a lot of other ways to play Frost, and I think that Glacial Spike can be good situationally when you're playing with somebody who is drawing all the attention away from you and you can actually cast it, and there's not a lot of shamans. I think Glacial Spike is really good. It hits incredibly hard, but it's so niche and so situational, and most of the time I just couldn't find a place for it. So I just stuck to this instant cast build and kind of blasted my way through it. Now we do have gameplay here as well, gameplay footage to review. Just let me pop this open. This is my game to get 2400, and you can see, look, Resto Shaman, multiple Death Knights, Demonology Warlock, lots of interrupts, lots of stuns, lots of micro CC. I would quite literally never get a Glacial Spike off in this lobby. So if you get the 4 set, you're kind of got dead stats because now you have to play Glacial. That's why I didn't go for it. I feel like the 2 set lets you have a bit more flexibility. Main goal with this is to just kind of keep your distance. I just Frozen Orb Blizzard, kind of gate the middle of the bridge from the Death Knight kiting across it. I just Flurry Lance and Icy Veins very fast. Main reason for this is that because I want to get shifting powers off. I want to get Ring of Frost on all of the Demonology Warlock's pets, another important component against any pet classes. Unholy DK, look at all those pets just falling into the fishnet, totally removed from the game. So BM Hunters, same deal. Demo, Unholy, same deal. Those guys are really popular right now. Make sure you're abusing Ring of Frost, Frost Nova as much as possible on towards their pets. And honestly, I probably should have Comet Stormed much sooner, but we've already got Icy Veins off cooldown. Comet Storm, we're just going to spam up Polymorphs on the Mistweaver. Against the Mistweavers, I do recommend trying to land Sheeps because they are one of the easiest healers to sheep. And if you sheep them, you negate a tremendous amount of their healing. Obviously, they're going to have some of the highest throughput uncontrolled of any healer, so you likely will need sheep. So you can see another Ring of Frost just immediately on these pet classes. Jump in, knock them off the side, continue using Frozen Orb and Blizzards to reduce the cooldown. Look at that, I got almost 2 orbs out at the same time against double pet class, which is really nice. Flurry Lance combo. I've got Alter Time up here kind of preemptively. I was anticipating them to make a swap, and I kind of wanted to blink in, but then the ring stopped me. But we're just keeping zone control, not overextending, staying in a safe spot, just towards the middle. But now we blink in Snowdrift. This is where you can make a power play. The monk has no trinket. I saw my DK going in, so I wanted to blink in, get a Snowdrift, Frost Nova. You can Dragon's Breath too to stop them from removing your Snowdrift applications, whether by Tiger's Lust and moving out of it or something like that. But it can be nice just to make sure that you're timing a barrier or an alter time before you go in. Another Ring of Frost down on all of the pets, just on CD basically. Trying to do as much damage as possible with Frozen Orb and Blizzard against the double pets. Blink in for a poly around the corner. And now we're playing a bit more aggressively. I can see my shamans pushed up and taking the pillar, so we'll push up with the team as well. Another Orb Blizzard. Really important to prioritize Orb Blizzard against Demo Lock or Unholy DK. It's just going to give you a huge amount of Ice Lance procs and a lot of instant damage with this build. Go for Dragon's Breath DR poly. I've also not been able to really abuse Ice Wall, but it doesn't matter. He gets absolutely cranked by the Frost DK in the final moments of that game, and we can kind of run him over. So once your team is pushed up together, you can kind of make your play. Usually I don't play very aggressively, but with a melee DPS, this is where you kind of got to flex your play style a little. When you play double ranged, you can play a bit more passive, especially if you're getting attacked. You want to play a bit more passive. But if you're getting ignored, that's when you need to capitalize on that and take advantage of it. And that's when I like to get on top of the healer, DB, Snowdrift, Frost Nova, try and sheep them, knock them off the pillar, ice wall them. That's when I like to get aggressive, is when I've basically been ignored. So same deal here. I kind of want to just gate the middle of the bridge. I fell off by accident though, so I'll run up to the side. Flurry Lance. Shaman gated in the middle of the map, so I really want to get a ring on everything here, but he ends up kicking it. Honestly, good players will focus on kicking Ring of Frost because it's such a detriment to their damage. I see that he's targeting the Shaman, so we'll swap on the healer. Frost DKs love attacking Resto Shamans. So if you're ever wondering like target priority, Frost DKs really like attacking Resto Shamans, so pay attention to that. I wall off the top side so the Shaman basically can't heal if to lock ports, or he's got to stay in the open. If he stays in the open, like here in the middle, he'll be more susceptible to Polymorph. So I can likely get a Polymorph. He tried jumping over the wall, but now his Death Knight's left behind, so he can just hammer damage down into the Death Knight. And I don't really like tunnel a target. I'm basically just following whatever's in an ideal position. And now I blink in, but see how I use greater invis when I blink in? This is because if you blink in, teams will likely switch to you. So you need alter, you need invis, or you need a barrier when you're going to make a cheeky blink where you're going in on top. And then when you use Ring of Frost here to lock the bottom of the ramp so the Shaman can't stand in that ideal location, he's going to have to run around the corner. And while he's running around the corner, his lock's going to fall down in HP. And now we get the Shaman at a bit easier of a spot to sheep as well. Here we get a double leg sweep into a sheep. Death Knight CC'd, and we're just blasting damage in on the Warlock. Go for another sheep. He gets the blind. We're so close to a kill. He gets the link off, though. We're very sad. We have Snowdrift, but they're on DR from leg sweep, so I could Snowdrift the lock on his pets, is what I think is what we're going to try and do here. Honestly, hitting the Shaman with is kind of pointless. I should have tried to hit the Warlock with the stun. Grip into Static Field is kind of annoying. Static Field is just super hard to target. You can see I'm just abusing Ring of Frost, using Frozen Orb and Blizzard in this matchup against pet classes, but I am playing a lot more aggressively. It's likely because I'm not really taking too much damage, and I'll be able to use barriers and alter time here when I have them. But as soon as I run out, or if I get forced back with a block, my positioning will change dramatically. But while we have the cooldowns, while we have the advantage, we're going to be pressing it here with Strangulate into Dragon's Breath, and just trying to chain CC the Shaman while still focusing down the Warlock. It can be a good idea, too, to try and spell steal for a couple of globals. I swapped to the Shaman and the Snowdrift here just to try and scare him. Because again, Frosty K's love attacking Resto Shaman, so if I could force a cooldown here outside of my Death Knights go, and then he can swap to him later, it can be the end of the game. Shaman didn't panic though, so we're not going to be able to finish him. Just continue blasting through anti-magic shield, we don't care. He's forced to port away. Continue to use Pet Nova on the pets, ironically. We had a double Blinding Sleet, we're going to Comet Storm it. Shaman trinketed, so I'd really like to get like a ring around the corner here so the Shaman can't heal around the side. The only thing I would maybe improve here is using Ice Wall. I could have cut this Shaman's path off a few times. I guess maybe I'm not using it again, because when you're getting attacked like this, imagine if I was playing Glacial. Like, it's just too many interrupts, it's too much stuns. Like, I can barely even do what I need to do with just instant cast right now. But I do manage to finally get in. I knock the lock away so that our AoE won't break the sheep. That can be another important tactic when you're pushing in on top of the enemy team, is to separate them with Blast Wave so that your crowd control doesn't break and you're able to stay on your target a little bit longer than you otherwise would be able to. We go for a Snowdrift stun, mostly just because I'm trying to save him on DPS here, and I polymorph the Shaman, and I Ice Wall him off on the corner to try and finish him. But I think we end up going down here. We swap to the DK with Icebound. We're so close, but we don't block, and we choke. This is the dangers of trying to play really aggressive and then like not paying attention to your defense. So I had greater invis. I had a few options there that could have kept me alive. So that round was definitely, at least that point in the game was on me. I don't know if we would have won based on momentum following that point, but you have to be very careful when you are playing aggressive like that. That's where the difficulty in Mage comes. That's why I would say at lower rating, playing more passively can be a lot better for you. Kind of just pray, especially at like 1800, because most people are just bored and they'll just run in and they'll die. So you can prey into their what's their word, they're just too eager to try and do something. They're impatient. You can punish their impatience. So here we got the double DK. So there's Frozen Orb, Blizzard, Ring in the middle. I just want all the pets to be hit by that basically as soon as possible. But the DK is going ham here, so we'll trinket the first stun and Ice Wall them off in the middle, force the Shaman to reposition, and then we can try and drag to the opposite side of the Ice Wall basically and just kite back and forth in this middle, but we're forced to block. And this is again, like, I can't play as neutrally as I was with the DK. With the Warlock, it can be a lot sketchier when you're trying to play like that. So I think dropping Frozen Orb and Blizzard, still the name of the game. This is really just a pet lobby, and we're just going to be attacking basically any Death Knight that's in the best position, so that Frosty K is downstairs at a line of sight. So he's a much better target as far as priority. And the priority is just going to shift depending on cooldowns and depending on positioning. A lot of people, I feel like, they tunnel vision a target, which at lower ratings can be better, because at lower ratings people don't have the awareness to know, like, oh, this guy's actually a better target now in this window compared to before. Because look at this Death Knight. He's out of line of sight, and we're able to just crack through with a bunch of damage and almost finish him right there. Do we actually finish him? We actually do finish him. So it's all about positioning, right? It's all about positioning, and it's all about cooldown management. If a target has limited cooldowns, you can track with something like Omnibar or Gladius to see them on the frames, then you're going to know that they're a better target. Or if they're just running off into a corner, you can tell that they're going to be a better target. But lower ratings, I could see it being better to just say, yeah, attack the Unholy DK, stick to that target. It's going to be better, and just maximize your damage. I could see that being the case. But as you get higher and higher, it becomes more important to be flexible when it comes to your targeting. Like, maybe you'd set a target initially, but if that target's playing really defensive and just playing at the pillar and avoiding damage, you may have to switch. But there are some situations we wouldn't do that. There are some classes you just absolutely don't target, like Shadow Priest is just borderline impossible. Again, I just drop a ring to fish all the pets into the middle, because most of these guys just pop all their cooldowns right away into the ring, and then all their pets get CC'd. And the Monk actually rolled in to try and cross on the Shaman. So we're getting all the DKs CC'd, we're getting the Shaman CC. We need to Dragon's Breath defensively here. Like I said, Frosty K is like attacking Resto Shamans. So if there's ever Frosty K, just be careful of your Shaman getting gripped in. So I'm going to help peel with Dragon's Breath and Nox and try and wall them off, and just basically wall the DK off from my Shaman on the other side. The Monk's also out of his line over here, so it's a little bit nice there as well, as far as separating them. And we're going to try and go for Snowdrift. And this is, so if I'm not getting attacked, you can see it's a lot different. I'm not running away. I'm kind of running in on top of them. And that will change depending on if they swap to me, which they should. And that's why it's always kind of like a flexible reactionary game. And I just keep dropping rings, getting CC, trying to get polymorphs. Everybody's in CC. And here the Unholy DK is the target. Why? Because he's pushed in on top of my healer, far away from the monk. And we've forced his trinket. So he's behind on cooldowns and he's in a worse position. So even though we just killed the Frost DK, this round we're on the other target, right? And you might be like, well, that's bad. What are you're attacking the wrong target? But it's entirely dependent on cooldowns and positioning. And you can see how much pressure he's under because he's traded cooldowns so prematurely relative to the other Death Knight. Now we've got Polymorph TR, so we're going to knock the DK away, shifting power, our barrier back, our Frozen Orb. Monk makes a play here, and I end up blocking it, which could come back to bite me, but I kind of don't want them on the Shaman, so I'm kind of blocking to taunt them to try and get them to attack me. Double ring again, really I focus heavily on Ring of Frost is what I've noticed against any sort of pet classes or melee cleaves that are training my healer. And then we switch to the Frost DK on the bottom side here because he's now the better target and he's in a better position, and we're able to get CC onto the healer. We Ice Wall him off and we're able to finish him. So Ice Wall is typically either you're initiating or you're finishing crowd control. So it's either the healer's really far behind the pillar and you can't get poly on them, so you wall them off to make them run in, or you can get a poly on them and then you're walling them off at the end of the poly chain to be able to prevent them from getting back. And it's nice because if you get interrupted on a polymorph while you're chaining them together, you can just wall them off and you'll basically get an extra 5 seconds or so of crowd control. But Ice Wall is either the initiator or the finisher. Sometimes I defensive wall. I've thought about defensive walling against demonology, and that has sometimes been very effective. But that's the main name of the game, is to just focus on getting Ring of Frost on pet classes. Just play passively when you're the target, which obviously you're going to be with hunters. I really like Ring of Frost, bro. Look at that. It's literally like 5th global. I'm putting Ring of Frost down on the ground. And this game, I'm trying to bait the Frost DK away because he's playing the slow moving talent. So I don't want to push in when he's got Pillar of Frost up. It would just be very bad for me to do that. So we're just kind of pulling away, focusing him down, forcing Earthshield basically off the Warlock also, which can be good when you're playing with a melee. So when you got melee range against melee ranged, your melee attacks their ranged, but you attack their melee, and you pull their melee and split them. It can be really effective against Resto Shamans because they can't have Earthshield on 2 DPS. And so you can get a lot of extra pressure, force a lot of cooldowns, force the healer into a bad position. And that's why I'm kind of just like focusing the Death Knight. Although I wish my Death Knight was on their Warlock, mostly just because then Earthshield is going to be losing significant value. But we sneak a sheep in because we got the Shaman in the middle from pulling the Death Knight around out in the open. And a sheep with no trinket is making the Death Knight very scared. It's forcing every cooldown basically here, even though I do think Warlock should be targeted by my Death Knight's position. We want to decurse hexes, really important. Go for Snowdrift. DK's got his big cooldown up right now, so we try to blast wave him and try and knock him during this Pillar of Frost. If you ever see that big white circle from Frost DK, like, you need to get away from him. He's going to be doing a lot of damage, and I don't know how I just bounced up like that, but that was kind of cool to bounce up. We're going for ring again, just trying to hit anything that we can. As the Warlock's kind of gating through and running away, we shoot the Shaman. This is where I wish we were taking the Warlock. We're trying to wall him off. This could be a cheeky play where you start an Ice Wall cast and you blink through it before it finishes, so you end up on the side of the target you want to attack, but the healer is on the opposite side. That can be a really fun play to do on Frost Mage, and we're able to collapse on the Warlock here and take him down in round number 5. But the name of the game is just focus on instants. Flurry, Lance, Lance, Flurry, Lance, Lance is your basic rotation. Comet Storm on CD as much as possible. Icy Veins basically on CD as much as possible. When you're making blink plays offensively, that's when you want to think about using Greater Invis. When you want to think about using Alter, or your barriers, have some type of follow-up to be able to recover when you blink in. If you just blink in naked, yeah, you're not gonna have a great time. But that's the basic rundown of it. That I can give to you guys here in today's video. Hope the build works out for you. You're able to have some success, because I know a lot of people have been down on Frost Mage, but I think it still actually is quite potent on the ladder, at least. I've really enjoyed it in Battleground Blitz also, which I'm going to be playing on my stream basically every single day at this point. So if you'd like to join in live for that, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Other than that, thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.